Hello, this is Lauri Juniper from Tag YOURE, the drag edition. You're listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. Our first guest is the wonderful Theresa Problem. She's 17 years old and making amazing changes in the Melbourne drag scene, finding more opportunities for drag kids and encouraging everyone to be themselves. She's confident, she's colourful, she's talented, and she's here with us today. Hi, Theresa, how are you?
Hi, Lauri. I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking.
So I'm very excited to have you on the show today. You're my first interview, and I nominated you as the person who inspires me with all the amazing things that you're doing. And I've been watching you perform for quite a while now, and every performance is just absolutely amazing and just keeps getting better. So it's pretty exciting to see you moving up and getting the recognition that you deserve.
Yeah, thank you for choosing me. I was so excited when you said you were inspired by me, which is just such a huge compliment. Like, anytime I hear anyone say I've inspired them or motivated them in any way, it just makes me feel like I'm achieving what I set out to do.
Definitely. I know you definitely inspire a lot of other people my age and also people older than you. Like, even Malibu said that they're very inspired by you.
Yeah, I've got drag family that are all different ages from me, and I think while age is a factor in your capabilities and your maturity, you can definitely have relationships with people who are different ages to you and friendships and those kind of connections where you inspire each other. And Malibu is just such a huge inspiration for me. Like, I think we both motivate each other through a lot. We're each other's emotional support. So yeah, no, I think that it's really nice that I can have those friendships.
That's awesome. Why did you start drag?
Well, I was first into it because of YouTube. I discovered it because of my English teacher recommending RuPaul's Drag Race to me. I kind of heard of it and then I fell in love with it. I thought it was such an amazing art form and I was so obsessed with it. And I remember so vividly the moment that I discovered women could do it, because all I'd seen up until that point was just men doing drag. When I discovered all different gender identities could do it, it changed my world. I was like, oh my God, this is an art form I'm so obsessed with and I feel like I'm capable of it. Because I also love musical theatre, but I'm not a singer. I also love dance, but I'm not particularly motivated to do it, full time and that kind of stuff. So when I discovered drag was something that I was able to do, I was instantly obsessed because of course I'd love to do drag. It seems so fun. And then I just jumped right into it as soon as I could.
That's awesome. What's your favorite part of the process when getting ready to perform?
I actually, and this is quite uncommon, I really love making the music and mixing the songs together. Most queens don't enjoy it that much, but I really love it because I really love how I can create a story with the songs and the audios that I use. I really like the whole process of just being able to combine different songs that you didn't think would go together. And I also really like doing comedic lip syncs, so I really love being able to mix different songs to kind of make a comedic effect. So that's my favorite part, is making the music, because that's where all the ideas come out and I really like build the structure for the number that I'm going to make.
I love that. What's been your favorite performance so far and your favorite story that you've been able to tell?
Oh, that is so hard because I've had so many favorites, but I think I'm going to go with -18 Halloween. Because I got to host a little bit, I got to perform. It was a really great crowd, and -18 are my favorite people to work with. I love everyone there so much. And I also love that event because of the stories that came out of it. I met a lot of people who were younger than me or the same age as me who wanted to get into drag, but they didn't have the confidence or they didn't feel like they were capable of it. And on that night, I encouraged a lot of them to do it. I made a group chat with all of us. You are now part of that group. And it was almost kind of the birth of the House of Honeys, which is all the drag kids in Melbourne that I'm friends with.
I'm so sad that I missed that performance. I was actually in Japan at the time, but I did see some of the stuff posted online, which was really, really cool. Um, so with -18 you've just mentioned, and with the drag kids and all of that, you're obviously underage, 17. I believe you're 18 in November, if I'm correct.
I'm counting down. There's only a few more months to go.
So exciting. What drives you to continue, and how are you able to manage balancing school and drag at the same time? Because as everyone knows, studying is so hectic, and so how do you manage two very draining aspects of your life?
Well, drag is actually kind of what motivates me to keep going. It's what I'm really passionate about, and if I could do it full time, I would. That's the end goal. Of course, I've got other studies going on, but with year 12, I've taken a bit of a break, and of course, with coronavirus, it's also allowed more of a break. But it's more of like a weekend hobby. Like people will do hockey and cricket and that kind of stuff on their weekends. I just do drag and dance. So I even it out. I give myself some space. Usually during the term, I don't do it as much and I wait till the holidays, which is a bit unfortunate because, the corona lockdown hit right when the holidays started. So I've barely been able to go out this year. But yeah, and, what keeps me going is like, even though it sucks that I'm doing bedroom alone in my room right now, like I'm still doing online stuff like with you right now, and I'm still making TikTok content and talking to all my friends. So yeah, it's just this is what I like to do, so I'm motivated to do it. And I know in order to get here, I still have to finish my studies. So it almost keeps me motivated to work hard in school because I know once I'm finished school, that's when I can really get started on this. So I just got to power through it and then get to the end goal.
Definitely. How has COVID impacted your ability to kind of keep that motivation? Because I've seen you perform and I see the kind of passion that you have about it, and COVID's obviously stopped all of that. So, how have you managed to continue on the online community?
Well, this whole coronavirus thing is making me reminiscent of my early days when I did drag and I was 15 and I'd go to like one drag show every year. And they were really spaced out because I was still like super new and figuring out where I was allowed to go. And so being at home and not being able to go out is kind of, I've already done this before. And while of course, like it's not fun, my favorite part is performing and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of reminding me of the perspective of some of my drag peers who don't get to go out as much. I'm very fortunate that I have a supportive mum who will take me out to all these venues and people that know me in the venues who allow me to come in. So what I did before I could go out to keep myself motivated so I don't feel lonely and isolated is the online community. And by creating the House of Honeys, I've already built all the connections. I've already got all my friends. There are things like social like drag races that drag kids can do. And while I don't really do them anymore because I'm still studying, so I don't have the time, I still participate in TikTok trends and interviews and Zoom calls and that kind of stuff. So you can still have a really fulfilling drag career not performing, kind of like Malibu. Malibu doesn't perform a lot, but they bring drag into their work as like, a bartender and a door like person and all that kind of stuff. So there are definitely ways around it if you feel like, you can't get out there and you really want to make connections. Luckily, through the online world, it is still super achievable. So that's what I've been doing recently to kind of keep myself going and remind myself that drag isn't just about performing. It's also about like the artistry of makeup and the connections that you make and that kind of stuff.
So you mentioned the online community just then and all the venues and how when you started out, you're like, oh, where am I allowed to go and all that kind of stuff. So how do you feel about the discrimination within the drag community, especially as an AFAB queen? As some of the people call you, a bio queen. What is that term? How do you feel about that?
Well, I try to advocate for inclusivity for queer kids and for like gender diverse identities in the drag community, because with shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, it kind of builds an image in everyone's mind that doesn't really represent like the diverse range of drag we have, especially here in Melbourne. We've got a lot of different types of drag happening. And so within the community itself, I found I haven't struggled too much with being a woman. Most people are supportive, but at the same time, it also feels like I'm given less opportunities. I have to prove myself even more than other queens do. And also with makeup is an obvious one. If a man or a cisgender man doing female presenting drag was to put on the same amount of makeup I would wear out of drag, it would be considered more drag. But if I wore softer makeup in drag, people just wouldn't associate that with me being a drag queen. So what most women are expected to do is to paint really heavily and clownish, which I don't mind. I'm very exaggerated. My whole drag is about exaggerating femininity and kind of like exploring that. But it's a bit harder. There's different challenges you have to go through. There's less opportunities and gigs, but the people themselves, I haven't really experienced anyone specifically targeting me or saying hard things to me. So the issue isn't with the people, the issue is with the systems and the opportunities, because people in crowds are still new to females. So what I think needs to happen is more females and gender diverse people need to be booked, so then it becomes normalized and it becomes the standard, because right now the standard is still a man in a dress.
Absolutely. So right now you're Theresa problem, but I've also seen a couple of performances with Theresa. So what about the inspiration behind him?
Well, he's my drag king alter ego, and I wanted to start being a drag king. I've actually been a drag king for nearly as long as I've been a drag queen. I just do it less because I'm more drawn to femininity. But because drag for me is exploring and criticizing and exaggerating gender, all this focus on femininity wasn't really working for me because I'm not wholly a feminine person. I do like to express a lot of masculinity out of drag. So Theresa, my drag king alter ego, is now a mechanism for me to kind of explore both. And Theresa is actually quite a feminine male character, which is still kind of like exploring femininity, because being a feminine person, having experienced my life as a female, that's just really important to me. So being able to explore that from the other side and, see myself as different presentations of gender is just part of my drag. Like, I don't view Theresa as a complete separate entity from Theresa. They're both just me dressing up in different ways and seeing what kind of reactions I get.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask the question that everyone is always wondering when they see a drag performer. How long does it take you to get ready?
Well, today I somehow miraculously did all this makeup in 45 minutes, but trust and believe it does not usually take that fast. Recently, because of the coronavirus, I'm not rushing off to any gigs. I don't really have any deadlines. So I've been taking my time. It's been taking an hour and a half, 2 hours. If I'm with my friends, maybe it'll take an hour. I think the average is about an hour, but I've actually really enjoyed giving myself a bit more time to, blend it out a little bit more and focus a little bit more on my shapes. So some queens actually take like 6 hours, but I think my average is about an hour.
Wowie. Where do you hope to take your drag in the future? So you've mentioned you want to take it full time, but where do you see yourself going? Do you see yourself going global or starting small, getting bigger, or just jumping right in?
Yeah, well, I've been manifesting that I want to be RuPaul, but unproblematic, because RuPaul's had a few transphobic and controversial scandals. I'm not a big fan of her as a person, but I, have seen how she has created a show and the ways in which she gets to, use her fame and stuff. And it's like, I kind of wish I could be that, but better, but a female, but unproblematic, but creating more opportunities for different types of drag and that kind of stuff. But on a more local scale, I think my kind of goal is to be like Art Simone. She's able to do gigs like almost every day. She does drag heaps. And I really enjoy the gig life. I don't actually know, as much as I think, RuPaul's career is good, I still like to get out there and perform and interact with people in Melbourne. International is something that I'd like to do, but Melbourne is my favorite place in the world. So honestly, anything that's a step up from where I am now is an improvement. And I'm just happy to see where drag takes me.
What are some of your favorite places to perform and some of the places that you actually can get opportunities as an underage queen?
My favorite place to perform is Molly's Bar and Diner. If I'm there at their event called Roulette, it's during the day, and because it's a diner and they serve food, I can be there with a guardian. And I've been lucky enough that I've been able to perform there almost weekly. It's a weekly event on a Sunday. Most of my closest friends also do it, and it's just a like quick opportunity to hop up on a stage and lip sync to a completely random song, which is such a fun challenge. It's so different to improvise rather than have a prepared number. And that's one of my favorite venues to be at. I feel really safe there. It's really welcoming. But at the same time, it's also something I had to grow into. When I first went, it was intimidating. It's definitely good to be there with a parent or someone older so that you feel safe. Because at the same time, even though they serve food and it's a diner, it's still a bar. You're still surrounded by people that are way older than you and, you know, under the influence of alcohol. But now that I'm only a few months away from 18, it just kind of feels like a second home.
What's the most challenging part of drag?
For me, I think it's I think it's kind of keeping myself confident. I am a very confident person, but sometimes you can kind of fizzle a little bit when you're comparing yourself to other queens, especially because I feel like I'm in a separate part of the community, or I'm a bit distant from the main drag scene because I'm underage. So one of the hard things is being underage and feeling a bit separate from everyone else. And reminding myself that I'm still doing my best from where the position I'm in, and making the most of what I can do. But I think reminding yourself to be confident and proud of where you are is a really important thing that sometimes I struggle with.
Cool. That's some really good advice to some people who are starting out, showing like the highlights and kind of also showing that there are some difficult things. But what is some more advice that you would give to younger people wanting to start drag, and even older people wanting to start drag, because it is an all ages event?
Yeah, well, specifically for younger people, don't feel like you're left out. I at first thought, oh my God, I'm the only baby queen in Melbourne. Like, I really thought I was the only one. I searched all over Instagram. I was Googling people. I found one person, oh my God, I forgot where he's from, but like Kyle, who had an article about being a drag queen. And then so I was like, please be my friend. I feel like I'm the only one. But eventually I found Fuchsia, who was my first drag friend, and she unfortunately had quit drag. And I was like, no, you need to start it again. We're the same age. We're both women. We'll support each other through this. And, you know, I had all these friends in America who were doing it too. And even though it's a different situation because they're in a different country, you just got to reach out. It won't take that long. And now that I'm like in Melbourne, I've found a bunch of drag kids who I'm now friends with. It's not as hard as it used to be here in Melbourne. And it's a similar thing for adults when you're trying to get into the community. It can be intimidating. There's a lot of really, really talented queens. There's a lot of different social groups, which can be a bit scary. But like I said, making connections may seem intimidating at first, but once you push past that, you won't look back and you'll forget that you ever felt scared and lonely, because you'll make such amazing friends. So I think making connections is probably one of the most intimidating parts when you start drag. And then for the art form itself, if you're not particularly looking to go out and be social, if you're just looking to enjoy drag as a platform, it can also be intimidating starting makeup, and my best advice is just do it. When I started, I had 3 makeup colors, like 3 little powders and 1 makeup brush. And even though it looked really trashy, I just played around with colors and shades and tried different things. And eventually you'll figure it out. But you got to start somewhere. You're not going to be great when you start. Like, trust and believe, I did not look good when I first began drag.
Wing it and trial and error, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, who inspires you and why?
Malibu Stacy, they've inspired me since I was 15 and started drag. They were one of the first local AFAB drag artists that I've seen. And I was just like completely in awe of them. I thought they looked so amazing. And then as I got to know them, I was like, wow, they're a really motivated person. They work really hard at what they do. And they're super caring and compassionate. They took the time out of their day to talk to me. And they were very kind. And, you know, I had connections with other drag queens and I was still getting to know people in the community, but they were one of the first people that really stood out to me. And they just still inspire me to this day because of how kind of a person they are, how hard they work, how talented they are, how many skills they have. Like just recently, they've learned to do the live streams at their job, piano bar, and they're just picking up all these random new skills and doing their best, and kind of going into it really confidently. And so they just inspire me, like as a friend, as an idol, as a drag inspiration. I originally, when I first started drag, my makeup was very, very similar to Malibu's. I basically ripped off their face in the start and they were fine with it. And now I've kind of developed my
What's
own
going to be easiest
makeup
for
look,
you for me to
but
try and
still, they just,
create
everything
the
they do,
start
all their actions and everything. I don't think they've ever done
and include
like a
you
wrong thing to
as
me.
a
In my eyes, they're honestly my guardian angel.
Thank you so much for this interview. I really enjoyed speaking to you, and I think that our listeners will definitely find a lot of interesting things and learn a lot from the interview. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you. It was nice to catch up.
Yeah, it was nice to talk. It was nice to talk to you after so long in lockdown.
Oh, we were supposed to catch up, like all the little drag kids and everything. I was planning a like big picnic, and it's been real unfortunate that I've made all these connections and all the drag kids are finally meeting each other online. I was like, oh my God, we're finally going to be able to leave the house. And it hasn't happened, but we'll all catch up as soon as this is over.
Definitely. This has been Lauri Juniper interviewing the amazing Theresa Problem. You're listening to Tag YOURE, the Drag Edition, as part of BRIMBANK Live FM.